The rain fell in sheets over Ijara, a forgotten village nestled in the hills of southern Nigeria, where the forest wasn't just a place. It was a presence, alive and watchful, its shadows curling like fingers around the mud huts and yam fields. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and something older, sour, like secrets left to rot. Ijara's people moved quickly after dusk, their eyes darting to the tree line, where the forest loomed, dark and endless. Nobody lingered there. Nobody spoke its name unless they had to. But at night, when the drums beat low and urgent in the village square, the whisper started. Stories of a goat with human eyes, of missing children, of Baba Omirin, the herbalist who lived where the village ended and the nightmare began. This is a story of Ijara, of a boy who laughed at fear, a sister who fought for him, and a curse that didn't die. Buckle up, because this isn't a fairy tale. It's a warning. In the heart of Ijara, the market buzzed with Lefel, but even there, fear hung like smoke. Under a flickering lantern, 3 women huddled, their voices barely above the patter of rain. Mama Talu, her scarf tied around her head, leaned close, her eyes scanning the crowd. You heard about Sagun, didn't you? 2 months gone, and as Wifel swears she heard his voice in the forest last week, calling her name. Auntie Shode, clutching her rosary, scoffed, but her fingers trembled. Nonsense. Sagun probably ran off with some trader's money. You know how men are. Mama Talu's face tightened. Then explained the goat, Shode. My nephew saw it behind Omirin's hut. Said it looked right through him, eyes like a person's, but wrong. Next day, his dog was dead, throat torn out, no blood. Aya Bursale, the oldest, leaned in, her voice a rasp. My cousin saw that goat last year. Stared at him so long he couldn't sleep for weeks. He's not right anymore, keeps muttering about voices in the trees. The women fell silent as a drumbeat rolled from the square, deep and mournful, like the forest itself was listening. A child ran past, and Mama Talu grabbed his arm. Stay away from that hut, you hear? Baba Omirin's no man to cross. The boy nodded, wide-eyed, and bolted home. Baba Omirin's compound sat at Ijara's edge, a squat hut draped in vines that seemed to writhe in the moonlight. The air around it was heavy, like it held too many secrets. Omirin was ancient, his age a mystery, his cloudy eyes like smoked glass, his hands gnarled but steady, as if they'd carved deals with things beyond the grave. He was Ijara's herbalist, brewing cures for fever or heartbreak, but the whispers painted him darker, a sorcerer, a gatekeeper, a man who'd walked into the forest and come back changed. His yard was a maze of herbs, bones, and jars that glowed faintly, and at its center stood the goat, white as bone, tethered to a post. Nobody dared look at it too long. Nobody but Kunle Adisa. Kunle was 17, all sharp edges and restless fire, with a smirk that said he'd seen through the world's lies. Tall and lean, with eyes that burned too bright, he was the kind of boy who'd argue with a storm and expect to win. Ijara's superstitions were a joke to him. The forest was just trees, Omirin just an old fraud scaring folks into submission. Late one night, in the village square, Kunle sat with his friends around a jug of palm wine, the fire casting shadows on their faces. Timmy, wiry and quick with a laugh, tossed a pebble at him. You talk big, Kunle, but you're not stepping near Omirin's place. That goat's got eyes that'll steal your soul. Kunle snorted, draining his cup. So? Please. It's a goat. Timmy, probably half-blind, chewing grass, while you lot wet your pants over fairy tales. Dapo, the quiet one, shifted uncomfortably, his voice low. My uncle went there once. Came back shaking. Said he heard voices. He doesn't go out at night anymore. Kunle rolled his eyes, his voice dripping sarcasm. Your uncle's a drunk, Dapo, and Omirin's a con man. Bet has got some cheap mask or a flashlight trick to keep you all praying to his hut. Timmy leaned forward, eyes glinting with mischief. Oh, big man. So you'd stroll into Omirin's yard. No fear? Touch that goat and walk out laughing. Kunle's smirk widened, but the wine made his bravado reckless. Stroll? I'd dance in there, slap that goat, and bring back its leash as a trophy. Dapo's face paled. Kunle, it's a blood moon tonight. Bad time to mess with the forest. Kunle stood, swaying slightly, his voice cutting through the night. Blood moon, blue moon, who cares? I'm done with this village's nonsense. You want a show? I'll give you one. Timmy grinned, sensing blood. Bet you 10,000 naira you won't even get past the gate. Kunle's pride was a hook in his gut, pulling tight. Make it 20,000 and I'll shake that goat's hoof. The boys went quiet, the dare heavy as a drumbeat fading in the distance. Kunle tossed his cup into the fire and walked off, his shadow swallowed by the dark. The path to Omirin's compound was a gauntlet of shadows, the forest pressing close, its branches like claws scraping the sky. Kunle's flashlight bobbed, catching glimpses of twisted roots and eyes glinting just out of reach. Probably owls, he told himself, but his heart hammered. The air was sour, thick with decay, and every step felt heavier, like the ground was pulling him back. Stupid bet, he muttered, his sarcasm a shield. Stupid village, stupid goat. I'm getting that 20,000 and laughing all the way home. The compound loomed ahead, its gate half open, creaking in the wind like a warning. Beyond it, the hut squatted, dark except for a faint, pulsing glow from the backyard. Kunle's bravado wavered, but he forced himself forward, cursing under his breath. Just an old man and his pet. Nothing here but stories. He slipped through the gate, crouching low, his sneakers sinking into the mud. The yard was a nightmare. Herbs tangled with bones, jars glinting like eyes in the moonlight. A low bleat stopped him cold. There, tethered to a post, was a goat, its white fur pale as death, head down, grazing. Kunle exhaled, half laughing. See? Just a damn animal. Timmy's gonna cry when I collect. He crept closer, hand outstretched, ready to touch the goat and claim his win. The air grew colder, the forest silent. The goat froze, then slowly raised its head. Its eyes weren't right, too big, too human, glinting with a knowledge that pinned Kunle in place. His flashlight trembled, his breath caught. A voice rasped, low and wet, like it came from a throat that wasn't there. You shouldn't have come, Kunle. He stumbled back, the flashlight slipping from his hand. The ground shook, a low rumble like laughter, and before he could scream, the earth split beneath him, swallowing him whole. The forest sighed, and the goat lowered its head, chewing as if nothing had happened. By dawn, Ijara was chaos. Kunle's friends, Timmy and Dapur, confessed a bet to the elders, their faces pale with guilt. We didn't think he'd actually go. Timmy stammered, his usual grin gone. Dapur clutched his arms, whispering, I told him not to. The blood moon, it's cursed. The village searched the forest, men with machetes and women with prayers, but found no tracks, no sign, just a cold silence that felt like judgment. At Omirin's compound, the goat stood in its pen, chewing lazily. Mema Edisa, Kunle's mother, pushed through the crowd, her eyes wild with grief. She froze when she saw the goat. One of its eyes was bloodshot, human, and stared right at her. Kunle's eyes, wide and terrified. She screamed, collapsing, as villagers whispered, It's him, it's Kunle. Baba Omirin emerged from his hut, his face unreadable, his staff tapping the ground. The forest takes what it wants, he said, his voice like gravel. Your boy was warned. Mema Edisa lunged at him, her voice raw. What did you do to my son? Give him back, you monster. Omirin's eyes flickered, almost sad, but his voice stayed cold. I don't take, woman. I only hold. He chose his path. She clawed at his robe, sobbing. You're lying. I know it's you. I heard him last night, screaming in the wind. Omirin stepped back, his face shadowed. The forest speaks to those who listen. Be careful what you hear. The crowd pulled her away, but her cries echoed, a mother's pain cutting through the morning mist. That night, Mama Edisa sat by her fire, clutching Kunle's old shirt, its scent fading. A faint bleat sounded outside, and she froze. It wasn't just a goat's cry. It was Kunle's voice, twisted, screaming. Mema, help me. She ran outside, barefoot, into the dark, but the night was empty, the forest silent. She fell to her knees, whispering, I'll find you, Kunle, I swear it. The next day, she cornered Aya Bursale at the market, her voice desperate. "You know something, Bursale? You've always known. What's Omirin hiding?" Aya Bursale glanced around, her hands twisting her shawl. "Adisa, you don't want those answers. Omirin's not just an herbalist. He's tied to things we don't name." Mama Adisa's eyes blazed. "Stop with your riddles. That's my boy out there, trapped in that thing. I heard him last night, screaming inside that goat." Bursale's face softened, but her voice stayed firm. "I lost my brother to that forest 20 years ago. He went to Omirin's, looking for charms to get rich. Next day, the goat had his eyes. I begged Omirin to explain, but he said, 'The forest keeps its debts. You keep pushing, you'll lose more than kunle.'" Mama Adisa gripped her arm, her nails digging in. "I'd rather die than leave him like that. Tell me how to fight this." Bursale sighed, defeated. "You can't fight what's older than us. But if you must, talk to Olabisi. Your girl's got fire like her brother. Maybe she'll see what we can't." Mima Adisa's eyes hardened. "Olabisi's all I have left. I won't lose her too." But Bursale shook her head, whispering, "You might not have a choice. 40 years ago, Baba Omirin wasn't a ghost story. He was Tunde, a young father with a laugh like sunlight, chasing his son Aid through Ijara's fields. Aid loved fireflies, catching them in jars, his eyes wide with wonder. But one night, a storm swept through, and Aid vanished into forest. Tunde tracked him to a clearing where the trees whispered in voices that weren't human. A spirit appeared, its form shifting, part man, part shadow, part something else. "Your boy lives," it said, its voice like wind through bones. "But his hour's now. Want him back? Bind your blood to us. Trap our enemies in flesh, guard our secrets." Tunde, broken, agreed. The spirit taught him to weave curses, trapping rogue spirits and animals, dogs, birds, goats. Each one cost him a piece of his soul, but Aid never returned. The goat became his final vessel, a prison for the dead and defiant, its eyes stolen from those who crossed the spirit's line. Tunde became Omirin, the man Ijara feared, his heart a graveyard of promises. A week after Kunle's vanishing, a curious teen, Segun, sneaked to Omirin's compound, his heart pounding with defiance. He'd heard the stories but thought he was smarter, tougher. Omirin caught him by the gate, his staff gleaming faintly. "Why are you poking around, boy?" Omirin asked, his voice weary. Segun swallowed, bold but scared. "Everyone says you cursed Kunle, that you made the goat take him. Is it true?" Omirin's laugh was bitter, like ash. "You think I want this? I was like you once, young, stupid, thinking I could outsmart the forest. It took my son, left me with this." He gestured to the goat, its human eye glinting. Segun's voice shook. "So Kunle's in there?" Omirin's face darkened. Kunle's way he chose to be. He mocked what he didn't understand. The forest doesn't forgive pride. Segun stepped closer, desperate. "Then let him go. You're the herbalist. You have power." Omirin's eyes softened, almost human. "Power? You don't free what's bound. Boy, you only trade. Go home. Live. Or you'll be staring out of that goat next." Segun ran, his courage crumbling, but the goat's gaze followed him, heavy as a curse. Kunle's vanishing wasn't the end. Over the next month, 2 more teens disappeared. Felmi, a brash boy who bragged he'd killed a goat, and Chioma, a quiet girl who followed him to prove her courage. Their bikes were found by Omirin's gate, tires slashed, handlebars twisted. The goat's eyes changed again, one now Felmi's, brown and wide, the other Chioma's, green-flecked, both staring with a silent scream. Ijara unraveled. Families locked their doors. Prayers filled the air, but the fear was a living thing, choking the village. Mama'i fell, a priestess with fire in her veins, decided enough was enough. She marched to Omirin's compound with holy water and a torch, chanting against curse. "The forest will bow," she declared, her voice ringing. The next dawn, a body was found by the river, twisted like dry bark, her eyes gone, her hands clutching ash. The village whispered, "She burned too bright." The forest ate her. At a tense town hall, Elder Okoro faced a furious crowd, his voice shaking. We must stay calm. The forest has always been here. We respect it. We survive. Mema Edisa stood, her face a mask of grief and rage. Calm? My son's gone. Felmi, Chioma, gone. How many more before you do something? Auntie Sade jabbed a finger. It's Omirin. Burn his hut. Kill that goat. Okoro raised a hand, his voice firm. You think fire solves this? Omirin's tied to forest. Harm him, and we all pay. Jide, a young farmer, scoffed, his voice dripping sarcasm. So we just live like cowards? Let that old man and his demon goat eat our kids. Mema Tulu's voice cracked. I saw Ifel's body. No human did that. We need to leave Ijara. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others shouting. Olabisi, Kunle's sister, stood, her voice steady but burning. Running won't save us. The forest doesn't care where we go. I'm going to Omirin tonight. I'll face him. Mema Edisa grabbed her, sobbing. Olabisi, no. I lost your brother. Don't make me lose you. Olabisi's eyes were steel. I'm not losing him, Ma. I'm bringing him back. Olabisi was 19, Kunle's opposite. Quiet, fierce, with eyes that saw through lies. That night, a storm raged, thunder shaking the earth like a warning. She slipped through the forest, rain lashing her face, a Nifel tucked in her belt, a flashlight in her hand. The path to Omirin's compound was a tunnel of shadows, the trees whispering her name. Her heart pounded, but she whispered, I'm here, Kunle, I'm coming. The gate groaned as she pushed through, her light cutting the dark. The yard was a nightmare, bones scattered, jars glowing faintly, herbs swaying like they were alive. The goat stood by the hut, its human eyes locked on her, one Kunle's, the other Chioma's. Olabisi's stomach twisted, but she forced herself forward, her voice low. I know you're in there. Kunle, I'll get you out. She found a trapdoor behind the hut, hidden under vines, its edges carved with symbols that burned her eyes. It led to an underground shrine, its walls dripping with moss, carved with voodoo runes that pulsed like heartbeats. Shelves held jars, eyes, tongues, nails, glowing faintly, some twitching. At the center, the goat was chained to a cracked mirror, its surface rippling like water. In the reflection, Kunle's face stared back, mouth open in a silent scream, his hands clawing at the glass. The goat spoke, its voice a chorus of the dead, cold and mocking. Olabisi, you're too late. She gripped her knee fell, trembling. Let my brother go. The goat's head tilted, a smile in its voice. Go? His hour's now. Like the others. Like Omirin's son. Olabisi froze, her breath hitching. Omirin's son. A shadow moved, and Omirin stepped into the shrine, his staff glowing faintly, his face etched with pain. Aid, he said, his voice breaking. The forest took him 40 years ago. I tried to save him, but it tricked me. Now I guard its prisoners. Olabisi's Nifel gleamed, her voice raw. You did this. You trapped my brother in that thing. Omirin's eyes glistened, ancient and tired. I didn't choose Kunle. He chose himself, mocking what he didn't understand. The forest feeds on pride. She stepped closer, her voice shaking with rage. Then why keep him? Why not fight it? Omirin's laugh was bitter. Fight? I've been fighting 40 years. Every soul I trapped buys a jar of time. Without me, the forest would swallow you all. Olabisi's eyes burned. You're a coward. You traded my brother for your peace. Omirin's face hardened, his voice low. You think it's peace? I see my son's face every night, begging me to free him. But the forest doesn't bargain. It only trades. Olabisi glanced at the mirror, Kunle's face fading, his eyes pleading. What trade? The goat's voice slithered, cold as death. Your place for his, Olabisi. One soul for another. I'll leave, and he stays forever. Olabisi's breath caught, her hand trembling on the knee fell. Omirin grabbed her arm, his grip desperate. Don't. You'll be trapped, like me. She yanked free, tears streaming. Kunle's my brother. I won't leave him. Omirin's face twisted, a flicker of something human. You don't know what you're giving up. The forest lies. It takes more than it gives. Olabisi's voice was steel. I'd give everything for him. Can you say the same for your son? Omirin flinched, his staff trembling, and for a moment he was just Tunde, a father who'd lost everything. Then came the twist. A voice echoed from the shadows, not the goat, not Omirin, but a woman, her tone sharp and familiar. Enough, Tunde. Aya Bursale stepped into the shrine, her face grim, a dagger in her hand. Olabisi froze. Bursale, what are you doing here? Bursale's eyes were cold, her voice laced with regret. I've been watching him, Olabisi, 4 years. I wasn't just mourning my brother. I was waiting for a chance to end this. Omirin turned, his voice a growl. You've been feeding the forest, Bursale, whispering to it, keeping it strong. Olabisi's heart sank, her knee fell wavering. What's he talking about? Bursale's face tightened. I was young, like you. The forest took my brother, but it promised me power if I helped Omirin keep the balance. I fed it stories, kept the village scared. But I'm done. I won't let it take you too. Before Olabisi could react, Omirin raised his staff, its glow blinding. No more, he roared. He swung, not at Olabisi, but at the goat's chain, shattering it. The shrine shook, spirits screaming, the jars exploding in bursts of light. The goat lunged, its eyes blazing, but Omirin tackled it, both vanishing into the mirror's rippling surface. Bursale grabbed Olabisi, shouting, Run! Olabisi snatched a torch from the wall, her hands shaking, and set the shrine ablaze, Kunle's voice echoing, Olabisi, go! The flames roared, the forest howling. As she stumbled out, the trapdoor collapsing behind her. Years passed, and Ijara was never the same. The fire gutted Omirin's compound, leaving ash and silence. Kunle never returned, nor did Omirin or Bursale. Some said the forest swallowed them. Others said they were still trapped, their voices in the wind. Olabisi stayed, tending her mother's grave after Mama Adisa passed, her heart broken by grief. The village dwindled, families fleeing, fields withering, the forest creeping closer, its whispers louder. Olabisi swore she heard Kunle some nights, apologizing, begging, but she couldn't answer. She'd burned the shrine, but the curse lingered, a weight she carried alone. In 2030, a traveler, weary and lost, wandered through Ijara's ruins, the village now a ghost of itself. By a twisted tree on a lonely path, he found a pale goat tethered, its fur matted, its head low. He laughed, reaching to pet it. Poor thing, stuck out here all alone. The goat raised its head, and his breath caught. Its eyes were human, one Kunle's, one Omirin's, the other Bursale's, all glinting with endless pain. A voice rasped, a chorus of the damned. You shouldn't have come. The traveler screamed, stumbling back as the forest swallowed his cry, its laughter echoing. Ijara kept it secret, and the curse lived on. This isn't just a story, it's a mirror. Pride, fear, sacrifice, they're all fuel for something older than us. Kunle mocked what he couldn't see. Omirin bargained with shadows. Bursale betrayed her own, and Olabisi fought for love but lost herself. What would you trade to save someone you love? And what if the price was your soul, your name, your peace? The forest is still out there, watching, waiting for the next fool to cross its line. Share your thoughts below. Would you face the goat or run from Ijara? Subscribe for more stories that'll haunt you long after the screen goes dark.